Welcome to Advertising Design and Branding Illustrator Lab 3. We're going to dispense with the lecture because really they're becoming kind of one thing now. So I'm just going to go straight into the lab. We are going to use several different tools today. Uh, Selection and direction, direct selection. We're going to use some of the text tools. We're going to use a new one, blend tool and symbol sprayer. So we will get right to it. All right, I have changed over to my Illustrator, the software for Illustrator, and this is the landing page. I'm just going to go up to File, Open, and navigate to where we are, which is, it's easier to do whenever I'm doing it without someone watching me. Okay, so Files for Labs. We are going to be doing Illustrator 3 today. Okay, so open the Illustrator 3 AI file. That's our Illustrator file, and I have a few things on there for you to work with. So I'm going to clean up this a little bit. I'm going to reset my workspace to Essentials, kind of make it a little neater. All right, then I am going to um, make sure that I've got my control bar on, and that I have turned on my advanced toolbar. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to scoot all of this over just a little bit if I can, if it will let me. I'm going to close that up for right now. I can easily get to my property window. So the first thing that we're going to do is something that you're probably going to absolutely love. It is called Trace Image. Now, these images should be embedded in your file, but if there is some problem, look in the folder and see if there are some files in there. So we're going to start with this one. It's just a plain box, pretty simple, shouldn't be much trouble. We could take our pen tool and we could trace it and draw it with some time taken up. I'm going to show you an easier way. And also, you have so many different options with this that it could be that a really low res photograph that you need to use could be it could be changed over to raster, and you could probably use it in a bigger space than you could have as change it over into vector, not raster, vector. The words get kind of mixed up sometimes. So change a raster photograph into a vector image. So I am going to show you um, how to do this. First of all, I'm just going to start out with the default setting. And wow, it was fast, but it isn't much of anything. So what we're going to need to do is go to our image trace panel. In my control panel, I have this little view right here. So you need to turn on your control panel so that you can see what you need to use. So I'm going to click this tool and it opens up a panel. And it's also found in the window. If you don't have it on your control panel, you can go into window and find that. So what I have done has the default, is default. It's just what it's set to begin with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on with this default, and I'm going to move this slider because we are in a state of flux right now. We can make some changes. So you can see the more I slide it, detail comes back, but then it starts being kind of a little bit crazy there. But still, I'm going to leave it there and show you what happens. Okay, so you have an expand button right here, and you have an expand button right here. You can click either one of them. And so what that does, let me undo that. Now let me get really super close. I'm doing Command plus. So you can see now that I'm going to get rid of that. You can see that it's got lots of shapes, but if I select it, there's really nothing going on. I hit expand and it finishes up. Now I have paths. I have all kinds of anchors. And so with my direct selection tool, you can see that there are all kinds of anchors. So now this is an object. There's one more thing I want to show you, because whenever you do this, it makes a white background. I like to go and check that, select that white background, and maybe even say, I'm going to go down to select and then same fill color, and I'm going to change this to no color. So now you can see that that white has gone. It is absolutely only one color now. All right. So let's undo a couple of things here and get back to our photograph. So I am just doing Command Z. Now we're back to just our box again. Let me show you what else you can do with this. I'm going to go and open my image trace from the window, because I don't want to start anything yet. I want to do some choosing here. You also have the same choices here, but I want to do it here so I can show you a little bit more. All right. So the mode that I was in was black and white. The default was black and white, but if I choose high fidelity photograph, it's working on it. Okay. So full tone, high fidelity photograph. And so now let's look really close. As we get closer and closer, you can see that it started making it into little organic shapes. Those are not pixels. Those are not created by pixels. Those are created by paths. So I hit expand, and now you can see where all of those different paths are. It kind of goes crazy with something like this, and it's going to make a bigger file. But if you're trying to make something that's kind of small, fit on a billboard or something, it might really be a good tool for you to use. And of course, this one does have the white as well. So I'm going to select the same fill color and change this to no color. And now I have, oops, I just moved something. I need to have my selection tool, not my direct selection tool. So now I can move this over here, and you can see it didn't do a very good job on the shadow there. You can see it's kind of ragged, but we could go into it and fix that. Okay, so that was a pretty ordinary looking box. So I want you to stop the video for a second, and I want you to try some of these different choices. And the one that you like best, leave that on your board there. Okay, let's start again. So this is just a photograph of some flowers, and you get pretty close and they're pretty detailed. I'm going to choose to do this in a black and white logo. And honestly, that is not bad for a photograph turned to black and white vector. So use that one to change and play with, and just kind of practice with the tool, and then stop, and of course stop the video. Welcome back. I'm going to show you some of the effects that you can do in Illustrator. So I'm going to start off with just a nice circle. And we did on our montage in Photoshop, we did a drop shadow. Well, let me show you what kind of a drop shadow that we have in Illustrator. Okay, so let's go to stylize. Okay, drop shadow. You can already see on the preview that we've got something going on here. So you can make these larger and it corresponds. You can make the blur longer so that it kind of makes it fuzzy. You can change these to different colors, which would be more effective if we had something underneath it. So let's just say, okay. So there we have that kind of preview. And so this looks like it's laying on top of something. It has a nice, it's kind of hovering above the surface. Okay, so I want to show you how to turn off some of these. So I'm going to go to something called Appearance. This, whenever you have something selected, it shows you everything about that particular, it tells you what stroke color you've got, the opacity, which is default, the fill, and the opacity of the fill. We have a drop shadow. Okay, if we want to turn off that drop shadow, we can poke the eye, and now there is no drop shadow. If we want to change the drop shadow, double click drop shadow, and you can make all of your changes here. You can make that a lighter shadow, or just delete it altogether. If I can manage to get it selected, now I can just click that and it disappears. The trash can just makes it go away. Okay, so also under Effect, Stylize, we can make it feather. Now that means that it's taking the edge and making it really soft on all of the edges. So here we have an 1/8 of an inch feather. And I'm just gonna say okay for right now. So you can see that that side, that has been kind of softened there. Now if I want to change it, I can double click on the feather and I can make it go up with my arrow and you can see it's getting softer and softer. Or I can just take this and put in a number and it automatically takes it. Okay, so that's if you want to have this over something. See how it kind of shows it just, and then sort of towards the middle, it's opaque, but on the edges, it's translucent. You can see underneath, what's underneath it. I'm gonna get rid of that. One that I use quite a lot is I use Outer Glow. So here we have the different dialog box. We can make it normal, we can make it multiply, we can make it screen. I'm going to make it normal for this one. And I'm going to change the color. So I've clicked that. And let's put a bit of a different color on it. I'm going to choose that. Okay. Now you can see that it has a glow around it. That's good for like a sun or if you want to emphasize something. So that is another thing you can do. And I can still change the inside color. Let me change that to, let's make it a, so you can see that that is a nice effect. Okay. Going to erase that and go back one more time to stylize. There's also Inner Glow. And this one is going to be harder to see. I don't use it very much because it's just harder to see. So let's see, you just can't really see much. Let's change this. That'll help. Okay, now you can see it. So now you've got the glow on the inside. It's good for three-dimensional illustrations. So I'm going to cancel that. And there is nothing crazy going on there. Okay. So we have some other things too. We can convert shapes. We can make crop marks. We can distort and transform. I'm going to go down to warp. That's a nice one. I enjoy using this one. So I'm not, let's cancel that and let's change to a square because that works really good. There's some things I want to show you with using a rectangle. So here's a rectangle. We're going to go up to Effect and Warp. And so what I like most about this tool is how it interacts. So I go to Arc and I automatically get not on, okay, it's being fussy with me. So I can make this arc the other direction. I can make it be straight again. I can change the distortion and make it bigger on one side like it has some perspective. And I can say, okay, that's not what I really want. So I can go down and choose some of these others. Now there's like bulge. And now we have all of this, so we need to change this back to 0, and let's 0 this so that we can see what it is that we've got. So bulging, the bend does that, and then you can even tweak it to the inside. And you can, of course, make it different horizontally and vertically. So you can really make some strange shapes with that. You can do all of these on your own. I just wanted to show you a few, and here's one that I want to show you. So I'm going to zero out this again, and this, and this. Okay, so now, okay, now we're back to the square. So a flag, you see type sometimes going on a kind of a flag shape. Well, this is one way to get that done. Really easy. See how it makes a flag like that? So, and it's good for a banner. That makes me think of Frito-Lay for some reason. Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know. But anyway, I want you to take a few minutes and play with all these different things here. And you can get back into the drop shadow and that sort of thing. I want you to play with some different things under effect. And there's a lot of other ones here too. If you want to delve into those, you're more than welcome, but I don't want to overload you. There is one more before I go. Sorry. Free distort. This is a nice one. You can come and pull these points out. Okay. So now you cancel. So now you've got something that looks like it's, what is that? Not a parallelogram. I think that's not quite the right shape. But anyway, you can make different shapes with this that make it look like it has perspective. I'm going to delete that. I guess if I had it selected, it would really delete it for me. So with this distort, you can also do like twist and you can see it starting to twist. So just play with those and see what you can make of them. And use different shapes. You can even use organic shapes. You can use text that you've outlined. You can do a lot of things with this. So just play around with that for a few minutes. Okay, let's go on with the lesson. I am going to do a clipping path and compound paths with this. First, I'm just going to start off with a really ordinary shape. And I am going to borrow something from an earlier box. Let's see. You know, I'm just going to paste this in. I'm going to paste it from our folder. So I'm going to paste. Okay. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to use this. I'm not going to use the other one that we used before the flower. So here is an image. And up here you've got embed. And if you want to, go ahead and embed that so that it will just be part of the file. I'm going to move this to the back. So I'm going to Shift Command left bracket. So put one on top of the other, and I'm going to go to Object. And it's practically at the bottom. I am going to make a clipping mask. And if you'll notice, it has a key command there. It's just Command 7. So that's what I use all the time, but let's just go ahead. Okay. So you have to have both objects selected, and I did not. So this time I'm going to use Command 7. So I'm going to make a clipping path. What that basically means is I'm going to cut this off. So now you can see that here is my object, and here's my original square, and here is, if I can make it, here we go. Here is the rest of that image, which means that you can get your direct selection tool and you can move this around inside the box. The image is still there. It just has a bounding box, kind of a mask over it. Okay, let's get this done. Okay, so that's a really nice, easy way to crop something. There is the other way that you can do something to crop in Illustrator. When you select an item that is a raster, it has the option of cropping the image. So I'm just going to click that, and now I get this window that looks very similar to Photoshop, and I can make it go in any direction I want to, and then apply, and it's cropped. So there's two ways to do it. If you want to do a really like a organic shape or something like that, you can use cropping the Command 7. And if you're just wanting to crop as in of the way like we do in Photoshop, just making it a little tighter design, then you can just go right to that crop image. Okay, so it works with images. So let's go back to using our name like we did the other day. I'm just going to type my name and I'm going to make it all caps. And I probably am misspelling it because I can't see that tiny of a space thing. So I'm going to make this really big. And you can see that I have really spelled my name correctly. That's great. All right, so I'm going to go and choose. I think I'm going to just choose this one because I've not used that before. And I have bold. It works much better. What I'm about to show you works much better with a thicker type, so you can kind of see what's going on in there. I am going to make this a whole lot bigger. I'm going to make it about 150. Okay, so that's pretty good size. Now I'm going to take that, go up to my type, and create outlines. So now, like we did before, I have objects here. So I am going to move this down here because I want to use it for something else here in a minute. So I am going to press Option, click on this, drag, and now I've got it on top. And I think while I've got it here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to Shift, Option, and make it bigger so that it fills up that whole area. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, it did not work, and I can tell you why it didn't work. All of these are separate entities. So what we need to do is make it one shape so that it's, instead of like this is a clipping mask, this is a clipping mask. We need to make every one of these be connected. Go to Object, about to the bottom, just below the the clipping mask. We're going to do a compound path and make it into a compound path, and see that it disappeared now. So let's just try it and see if that works now. All right, I did Command 7 to get that. You can get the same thing if you go to Object and go down to Clipping Mask and hit Make. Okay, so now you can see the tiger stripes through the words, and we can move it around. If you don't like the way that it's looking, you can take your direct selection tool and move it around until you get to the bottom of the image. We're going to do something with this leftover text here. So I'm going to make it a little bigger so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if you need to find your gradient window, just go up and check, make sure that you have gradients checked. So I'm going to select the word. I'm going to touch gradient, which is going to change it into a gradient instead of something off of our swatch. So as you can see, this gradient is going exactly this way. So that's exactly what it did. Every single letter is that way. And what I did when I was doing my name in the previous lab, I changed this angle from from 0 to 90. So I'm just going to choose 90. And now you can see that it's all going the same way because now it's headed from top to bottom and it's not from side to side. So it doesn't care that it's not a gradient because it's doing the same thing in each one of the singular objects. If I want to change it, I can reverse it using this little button and it will flip the colors. Okay. So let's say that I do want to have it like this. That is not very pleasing. You can't really read it. You could put in some colors over here so that maybe it would read a little better, but you're still not going to have, that's just not a cohesive look. I don't care for it, so I'm going to show you how to get rid of that. So I'm going to choose it and I'm going to make this into a compound path. And now it's made it clear. That's just part of the process. Whenever it does its little wild thing behind the screen, it makes it clear. So now I have that 0 gradient and it is going from this is the darkest to the lightest instead of each letter having its own gradient in it that's separate from everybody else. Now it's actually making a real gradient here. So I can choose some colors and add. Of course, I have to have it selected to do that. Double click on the little dot there and you can make it a different color. Click on this one and let's make it. You can click and make another one. I'm going to click this one and make this a different color. Now I'm getting a rainbow vibe going on here. Pink Floyd. Okay, so that's how you work with this. And you can still flip it. You've got all the functionality. You want to make it at sort of an angle, you can do that. You can either put your own angle in there or you can choose an angle. Let's do 45. So now you can see that it's doing as if that were one object instead of 6 individual objects. So I want y'all to stop the video for a second and play around with that. Make your own colors. So saving and exporting. This is going to be something that I am going to just go over. There's not any drawing. I just want you to be aware of how they differ. Because saving in a lot of functions of saving is being able to save it into a different file. Like if you were to save in Word, you could change it into a PDF. You could change it into a different selections. Okay, so in Illustrator, when you go to save and it's under File and Save, you have to save on your computer. And then it gives you this. And you can change to an EPS, which is an encapsulated PostScript. Not used very often. They make humongous files. You can make a template that it has a T behind the AI so that if you're doing something like making a whole lot of posters that are going to be exactly the same and you're just changing out a photograph or something, you can make a template so that you just open it each time and put the different photograph on it. This template file you never change it. You have to save it with a different name. You can make a PDF from this you can save it as a PDF or a compressed SVG or just a regular SVG. So those are a lot of different choices, but let me show you, we have more than that. So sometimes I might say export it as, and so we need to go down to export. And so you've got choices of screens as or a legacy type saving. I use the export as most of the time. So now I get the same dialog box, only it says export at the top. So now I've got the choice between a PNG. I can save it as raster this way, a bitmap, a, CSS, even some things that Auto AutoCAD can read. Um, my husband is into 3D printing, and I can save things for him with the with this one right here, the DWG, which is an AutoCAD file format, and he can go in and make those changes and make them work and use my designs. Uh, an enhanced meta file, a JPEG, a PDF, a Photoshop file. You can make that into a PSD, which is the native file format of Photoshop. And again, you've got an SVG, but you have more options here. And then text, TIFF, and so on and so on. So you have a lot more choices when you export. So if you're wanting to make it into a PNG, I've told you to make your file into a PNG and you can't find where the PNG is, look for export. Okay. So here is a project that I want you to do. I want you to make a poster. This should be the size of a poster. I don't remember the size of it. We can look at the document setup, edit text board, and it should give me the size here in the properties. Yes, in the properties, it says it's 18 by 24 inch. That's a pretty standard size for a poster. So I want you to make a poster about an exhibit at the Fort Worth Museum of Natural Sciences. I've given you a cat photograph and I've given you some tiger photograph and some text. So you need to change this date. You'll need to change that. Let me go to the layers. You'll have to access your layer here. It's on the first layer. It's not on the layer we've been working on. So you'll have to access that to get to the text. But I want you to just use the design principles and lay out this this poster. And I have given you files, but if you want to use files that you have or your own cat or whatever you want to do. If you've got some photographs that you would rather use than this, you can certainly do it. But just, I do want it to be this title and change the date. I'm going to do that right now. Oops. Okay, so it's 2025. Let's make that 8 because we don't want to work in the past. All right, so here's the date and the information that needs to be there. You can change the font style. You don't have to use the font style that I have. You can change the font for sure. Make that poster your own. So I'm going to just leave you up to your own devices with that. So I will see you in the next lesson.